no fear here in your heart. You wrote my life, my name, because of love. Your plans for me will stand, unshakable and true. My days are in your hands, my future is secure in you. And I won't give up, and I won't give in. This mountain will move, I'm still fighting. I won't let go of every word that you say. No, I won't give up, I won't give in. This mountain will move, I'm still fighting. I won't let go of every word that you say. No fear remains, your love anchors through every storm. And you won't let go, yeah. I rest secure, unmoved, yeah, framed in your love. You spoke my life, my name, because of love. Your plans for me will stand, unshakable and true. My days are in your hands, my future is secure in you, yeah. And I won't give up, and I won't give in. This mountain will move, I'm still fighting. I won't let go of every word that you say. No, I won't give up, and I won't give in. This mountain will move, I'm still fighting. I won't let go of every word that you say. 'Cause no fear remains, your love anchors through every storm. And you won't let go. Though heavens pass away, your word will never fail. Your truth and power are life to me, yeah. Your will always prevail. Your promise cannot fail. You'll always fight for me, yeah. So I won't give up, and I won't give in. This mountain will move, I'm still fighting. I won't let go of every word that you say. No, I won't give up, and I won't give in. This mountain will move, I'm still fighting. I won't let go of every word that you say. No, I won't give up, and I won't give in. This mountain will move, I'm still fighting. I won't let go of every word that you say. No fear remains, your love anchors through every storm, yeah. And you won't let go. No, you won't let go. No, you won't let go. Yeah, love. No, you won't let go.
You're able to do it. I know you can. 'Cause God, you are faithful to move again. This He is in control, reigning over all. He is powerful, so powerful. I lift his name, and I hear him praise. You make a way. He is powerful, so powerful. I can hear your voice singing over me, and I'm free indeed. Yeah, I can feel your arm washing over me, and I'm free indeed. And I'm free indeed. I'm free indeed.
Did you ever want to make a famous prediction? Now's your opportunity. People are looking for a prediction. They want to know what the future holds. And it's interesting that there's those kind of predictions all over the internet, of course, and you don't know if they're true or if they're not true or whatever. Who knows until it all works out. But there's another kind of prediction that I just love, and that's the one where we get a choice. You know, it's kind of thing like brush your teeth and they won't rot and fall out, right? Like there's a choice in there, like we can kind of have a certain outcome in our future. And so there's this guy Malachi back in about 400 years before Christ, and he made a prediction that comes with conditions. In other words, it's a prediction that we can decide the outcome of. And the outcome here is that God will rebuke anything that comes to destroy our productivity or our fruitfulness, anything that comes to kill, steal, and destroy from us. And like the promise that Jesus said, he said, I've come to give you life and life more abundantly. And so there's this prediction that whatever comes against you will be destroyed, that you'll be protected, that you'll be blessed. In fact, he said, I'll open the windows of heaven over you and pour out blessing. There will be not room enough to receive it. And of course, we know what the precondition to having that prediction come true is, if you will bring your tithes and offerings into the storehouse. And he's speaking about a time when God's people were so concerned about themselves and looking at their own benefits and their own needs and forgetting to be generous, forgetting to be giving. There's nothing that can predict a better future for us right now than a spirit of generosity. And this actual prediction was made in this very time. It starts, the beginning of this chapter 3 of Malachi begins with John the Baptist coming, and it's a snapshot of the New Testament basically, and then Jesus, the messenger of the covenant, comes. So in the middle of this New Testament time, or the church age, is this, you need to come back to me. You need to turn around and you need to get your life back where it's supposed to be, where it's meant to be, where you're in the purpose that I have for you. And basically, and then he says, you're going to ask, like, okay, how do we do that? And he says, well, the answer is you bring the tithes and offerings into the storehouse. In other words, release a spirit of generosity and giving in your life, so that it will turn this thing around. He says, and then try me in this, test me. It's just, you can prove this by giving and seeing if I don't open the windows of heaven and pour out blessing, there'll be not room enough to receive. And then through that, it's really talking about a time of great incoming, a great revival, he says, because when you become that blessed, you become, the church becomes a delightful land, he says, a place of that people desire. And then he says that the people come together, and I like this part. It says, then those who feared the Lord spoke to one another. In other words, they started talking, and I think this is a time when people are talking to each other more than ever before. Wouldn't you agree? And it says, the Lord listened and he heard them, and so a book of remembrance was written before him for those who fear the Lord and meditate on his name. In other words, God is recording our conversations, and then right after that, he says that's what he's going to use to discern or to tell who the wicked are from the righteous, right? When it comes to the judgment, Christ is coming back, you know, the whole prediction that we don't have a role in, because he's going to come back, and we're going to be judged according to the way we treated each other, the way we talked to each other, the way that we were concerned about each other. So this is a real amazing principle in the Word of God that I just want to share with you today, all of you leaders across Asia and wherever you may be, that if you'll release the spirit of generosity, it preconditions the blessing to come into our life like never before. And then he has this whole amazing plan. To me, nothing else makes sense, you know. So it's wonderful. And so I want to bless you today with that idea that as we release the spirit of generosity, that God is going to release the promises or the predictions that Malachi made 400 years before Christ came, that there was going to be a church that's going to be powerful, and that in that church we are blessed abundantly above all that we can ask or think. So I bless you with that today. Carry on and have a great week.
Okay, happy Sunday, everyone. We hope you had a wonderful week, and it's Pastor Matt here with Micah, and we're here just to say hello, and we just wanted to share a few words with you today on this amazing Sunday. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid growing up, we would have these jokes, and they're called Yo Mama jokes. And so Yo Mama jokes were actually obviously talking about your mama, right? So if you wanted to get someone irate or go for the jugular or go for the killer blow, you would talk about someone's mom, because moms hold such a place. And I'm not going to tell you any mama jokes because it's totally inappropriate, and it was elementary school, so I hope I've grown up a little bit from that time. But anyway, moms hold a great place in our hearts, and they're something that we love, a person that we love, a person that we cherish. And today we want to talk about mothers. So it's Happy Mother's Day internationally. I know it's not to be confused with like Mothering Day, where you go back to the church that you first got baptized or born again. And we're not talking about that. We're not talking about per se International Women's Day, even though mothers are women. But we're talking about the Anna Jarvey Mother's Day in honor of her mother. She was in the United States, and she wanted a day to celebrate her mom. And so, she tried to Congress with the United States, and in the beginning it seemed like a failed attempt. So the joke was then, is like, okay, if you have Mother's Day, does that mean we have to have Mother-in-Law Day? And so that was kind of the funny joke. And And so she kept going, and she pushed it through, and President Woodrow Wilson, I believe in 1914, passed it as a national holiday for all of America. And doing research, you look and you see all through the countries that celebrate it, there are a lot of countries that celebrate this day that was supposed to be honoring a mom. And so that looks different to different people, how to honor your mom. And so I know if you've read the research on the person Anna Jarvey, if you pronounce it correctly, she actually got very upset with a lot of the commercialization of Mother's Day, where, Hallmark came out with the special cards you send your mom, and the chocolates. And so later on she actually was protesting, the fact that carnations are now associated with Mother's Day. So, today, growing up in our society, Hallmark cards, chocolate, and carnations are synonymous with it. And so, but there's other ways that you can honor your mom, and that's really what we want to talk about today. Taking them up to eat is great. Hallmark cards with special words inside are great. Carnations, I guess, are awesome. But there's other ways that we can, honor our mothers. And one of the ways we wanted to look at honoring our mother is found in the Bible. And so we wanted to look at that. And it's found in the book, or I should say not the book, the letter written to the Ephesians. Paul's writing to this city of Ephesus, and it's found in Ephesians chapter 6. So if you have a Bible that's on your phone, analogs just like mine here, you can find it. So it's Ephesians chapter 6 and verses 1 to 4. And so before I begin reading this, we just wanted to make sure that for those that aren't familiar with the book of Ephesus, it was written by a man named Paul. He wrote it to a place called Ephesus, to the church there. And so in the beginning of it, the book is divided kind of in half with an idea of, hey, God has brought these two, the Jews and the Gentiles, and has made them one in Christ Jesus. It says that you used to, like he would talk to the Jews, you used to be like this, and to the Gentiles you used to be like this, but now because of Christ you can actually be joined as one. So there's neither Jew nor Gentile, but all are one under Christ. So he's saying the big family is coming together. And then so he's saying you didn't have no purpose, you didn't have no aim in life, and now that Jesus has come, you have purpose, you have aim, you have meaning, and you have work to do, and he's created you for work to do, and it's going to be amazing. And then he goes on to, therefore, because of what God has done this in your life, has changed your life, and you're forgiven, and you're a new creation, and you're a Christian, now we walk, or we talk, and we act like these different things. The way a Christian should move and walk should be different than that of different societies. And I think that's exactly why the Ten Commandments was a big deal for the country of Israel in the beginning, because the Ten Commandments were supposed to not only give directions or laws, but it also was supposed to separate people in terms of that. But the problem is we couldn't do it, right? We couldn't behave, we couldn't follow all the Ten Commandments. What we actually needed is a new heart, and that's what Jesus provides for us, is a new heart. So but Paul brings up this commandment we find back in the Old Testament. And so we read it here in Ephesians chapter 6. It says, "Children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord, for this is the right thing to do. Honor your father and your mother. This is the first commandment with a promise." Now he's quoting the Old Testament. "If you honor your father and your mother, things will go well for you, and you will have a long life on earth." And then the joke in my family is my dad would close in my Bible and say, "See, the Bible says this," but then we'd open up again and obviously finish reading it. It says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord." And so that's a great thing that Paul was bringing to this word, to this letter to these people here. And I understand that a lot of it is some rules that some people may not agree with, or they don't espouse to the Ten Commandments, or maybe they don't even believe in God and kind of things like that. So it's interesting. So part of it is addressed to Christians, and that's why it says, "Children, obey your parents, you belong to the Lord." Okay? But I wanted to just deal with a few things here. I know culturally speaking, this Paul is actually dealing with men in a culture where men could do whatever they wanted in many respects at this era. And then Paul is now dealing with them. He's saying, okay, in terms of marriage, you got to act this way. In terms of being a father, you got to act this way when culture says you could act this way. In terms of being a boss or an owner, you can't treat them like that anymore because things have changed. And so it was a real challenge to the culture of men at that time, but that does not negate the fact that in this it says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right." Honor your father and your mother. So we're talking about honoring your mother. Of course, it's in context of your parents, but we need to be, and we're totally aware that not every family is picturesque. Not every family is perfect. Not every family is together. There are broken families. There have been repaired families. There's struggles. There's tensions. And so we understand that. I totally understand that. So please don't get me, don't think that I'm insensitive to this, but I'm just reading what I see. So it says, honor your father and your mother. So we're talking about your mother. And to honor means to esteem, to respect, and to give value. So in some ways, it's almost like I value you. I value you. or I give you value. So it's either I value you or I give value to you. You're valuable to me. And as believers, as Christians, we know humans are made in the image of God, and that's why we value all human beings and every individual. That is the starting point, because the value comes because they're made in the image of God. But sometimes we understand in real life that, honoring and respect almost sound very similar, but they're kind of different in different ways. Now, usually respect is earned by people, but honor is something that you can give someone regardless of how they treat you. It's kind of like in the way, it's like love. Love your enemies. I mean, they aren't doing something good to you, but the reflection to love is totally on you. You have the ability, no matter how they treat you, you have the ability to respond in a way that is best for them. And so honor is kind of the same way. In my understanding of it, is that it's not depending on you to have the perfect circumstances to be honoring towards someone. So honor is actually something you can give to someone that disagrees with you. You can honor them, you can value them, or you can give them. And so you can have discussions with people you disagree with. You can honor people because it's not based on them, it's actually based on you. Right? So that's what kind of honor we would look at, is that honor expressed looks a bit different to different people and in different cultures. And sometimes, some people get it confused with the respect and honor. And they are kind of interchangeable, but, some people would say honor is something that you can give as a free gift, but respect is something that someone earns in your life. So look at it that way. And so we know that even though I'm a bit older, obviously, I'm not a baby anymore, I hope. So there's different aspects in our lives where we grow up. So you're a child. You have they call it the child-adult relationship, where you're a child. You're totally helpless. Mom looked after you when you couldn't look after yourself. You were helpless. You had no food. You couldn't feed yourself. You couldn't clean yourself. Mom was there, totally taking care of you when you are totally dependent upon her. And in that state, in that fragility, in that very vulnerable state as a human being, she carried you for 9 months and then had the pain and joy, I guess. I mean, I've never had a baby. And if you've had one, good on you. So strong, so brave. But as a man, all I can say is I've heard it hurts. And other than that, tough. Anyway, getting back to it, adult-child relationship is that when you're a baby, you kind of get to this point where you think everything is about you, because really everything is about you. Mom does everything for you because you can't do anything yourself. And then you become a teenager. I call it teenager-adult relationship. You can feed yourself, but you really don't pay for the food you eat per se, because you go into the cupboard and, Mom, where's the food? Mom. Well, maybe in my household it was like that. But teenagers are kind of, they're kind of realizing that they still think everything's about them sometimes, but they're realizing that there's other people. And we know that in that time period, people are dealing with different changes in their bodies. And so their relationship changes, and they're growing up. They're figuring out who they are. And, Mom may not know everything. And Mom, geez, you're so... Mom. And she's like, but Mom wants to give you a kiss or a hug in the middle of public. Mom, so embarrassing. Oh, my goodness. And so, maybe that's, teenage. We go through these different stages that we have. And then we get to the point where you become older, where you're responsible for yourself and you're responsible for other people. And the dynamic of your relationship with your parent or your mother becomes a lot different, where you're not like, Mom, geez, you're kind of like, Mom, what do I do? If you have your own children, you're like, Mom, oh my goodness, I'm realizing how amazing and how hard it was. And so now you're, instead of not asking questions, you're kind of asking questions and you see them in a different light. And it's funny because, the age difference never changes, but the dynamics and the maturity of your relationship with your mother does change as you get older. And hopefully as you get older, you begin to appreciate and see the things that they have done for you, and the ways that you can show honor to them. And so I know it's a command. It's a command, and you're commanded. It's part of the Old Testament, and it's like one of the 10 Commandments. You're commanded, which means it doesn't matter. I mean, if it was for Israel, but in some senses, if it's a command, it doesn't matter if they're a Christian or not a Christian, nice or not nice. It's a command to do something. And so in that context, it would be like, even as a Christian, you're in the Lord, you should do this. You should honor your mother and your father or your parents. And so, that can be a bit challenging, right? Because not everyone's had an amazing upbringing, and sometimes it can be, I don't know even who they are or what's going on, but there are different types of mothers as well. There's biological mothers. There's ones that maybe adopted you. Maybe ones that are your spiritual mothers that look after you in different ways. So there are different mothers in our lives, and sometimes they're all wrapped up in one. And sometimes God uses different people in your life to become that nurturing spirit that helps you in different phases of your life. And so even if you did not believe in the 10 Commandments, even if you didn't believe in God, you can do an experiment, and you can do the opposite of honoring your mother. You can be rude. You can be discourteous. You can be selfish. And you can try all the things that are the opposite of adding some. You can act in a way that it would treat something that had no value, and if that's the way, let me know how that relationship goes. And I know a lot of people that have tried that. You know, they're angry wherever they come from. Maybe they haven't have a great example. I mean, I get it. I totally get it. But in honoring them, it does work. It's not just a command. It's not just a law. It's not something that gets you into heaven. It's actually a very practical thing. When you honor something, you're adding value to it, whether there is value there or you're going to add value to it. It's actually quite an amazing thing. So, yeah, I mean, try it. Try have zero honor with people around you and let me know how your relationships turn out. I don't think they'll turn out very well. And so there's a very practical aspect to doing this, even as a person, in general. As a human being, it's good to honor people in that way. And so the funny part is, live long. It comes with a promise, right? It says, this is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you, and that you may live long in the land, or on the earth, as some of your translations might have. And so that's funny because, I don't know, if you just dishonor them, I guess you could live a lot longer than, that's the kind of the joke, right? Is that you don't obey your parents. You know, I brought you into the world, I could take you out, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not belittling people. I mean, let me put it this way in a context. I was a stinker growing up. I'm a big stinker now. Big stinker means kind of like a tease, poking, all these attributes of a cheeky person. And so at one time I was in elementary school, I came home and I was being cheeky. I was being disrespectful. I was not honoring my parents or my mother. And we're at the dinner table, and I was challenging them. Being very, I mean, I have a British home, and so manners were a big deal. My mom has like a rule book of how to entertain the Queen of England should she ever come over. Don't put your elbow on the table. And so we have lots of etiquette in our household. It's quite funny. So I was challenging them because at school, I learned that if my parents, disciplined me, that I could phone this phone number and I could get them in trouble. So I tried to leverage this authority. And I'm not belittling like real abusive situations in homes. This was not the case. I was being a total ding dong. It was all on me. just for the record to show. And so I was challenging them on this thing, and so I told my parents, I said, you know what, if you do that, if you reinforce I call it reinforcement, a spanking is what it was, possible spanking. And so I said, if you touch me, if you do anything, I'm going to phone this number and they're going to come over here. And we lived out on a farm 22 miles from the nearest city, so it was kind of interesting. I didn't think about how long it might take the police to get from what could happen to me in that time from there to there. But needless to say, I said, you can't do anything. And then my parents said, well, okay, that's great. Yeah, here's the phone. You can call them. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you can phone them. And so my endeavor to be dishonoring came to a real halt very soonly. And so they called my bluff, and I said, and then my dad says, yeah, and if they get here, I'll give them some discipline as well. So yes, they called my bluff. I stopped being cheeky, and so dishonoring doesn't usually help, and I tried to pull that card. But thank goodness for my parents calling my bluff and dealing with me in that way. So, I'm living a lot longer when you honor your parents. Thank you, Jesus. So getting on to So 6 ways you can honor your mother, your mother-in-law, your spiritual mom, or all of them at the same time. Totally up to you. Number 1 is love them unconditionally. They are human. I remember Sawang's graduation in Canada. Usually you're 18 when you graduate, and so a mom is saying, just when I started to learn how to parent, now you're 18 and leaving the house. So sometimes kids don't come with instruction manuals, and they try their best. And so loving them unconditionally is a great way to do it. And thank you, Jesus. Forgiveness is a big deal. Forgiving them. Put yourself in their shoes. That would be one of my suggestions. And I know that there's strained relationships and stuff like that. So, be open to, maybe possible, open the dialogue at some point, reconciliation. I don't know if you need boundaries or whatever it may be, but, love them unconditionally as Christ has loved you as well. And I think about Jesus dying on the cross, and, where's his mom? His mom is right there. And so it's really the devotion of a mother is to see you to the last moment, to see them to the last moment. And even dying on the cross, even in his pain, Jesus gave us a great example. He says, even in my pain, I'm not thinking about myself. And he looks at his mom and he looks at the disciple. This is in the book of John. He says, mother, your son, son, your mother. So basically, he's making sure she's getting taken care of, even though he's leaving. So sometimes, Jesus is the extreme example, but don't be so preoccupied with other things that you forget about your mother, is kind of the point I'm trying to make. And take care of her even when you're going through a tough time. So that is kind of one thing I see from Jesus. And so, I don't know, it must have been very hard to see, for Mary to see her son on the cross, especially, but she knew the purpose behind his life. And that's another great thing mothers do, is they see the purpose behind your life. And I know even, I never died on a cross. Obviously, I'm still talking to you, but I know from my own mom, she will wait to the last minute to see me before I leave the airport. Any angle, any hole, any window, she can see me before I go through immigration and screening. She's like, she will hang on to the last moment to see you off. And I know even being very protective of them. So moms are very protective in that way. So it's very cool. What's another story? I got lots of stories about my mom. It's amazing. Once I was playing hockey when I was a teenager. I got slashed on my hands. I fell to the ground because it really hurt. And I've never seen my mom so irate. Like in hockey, she'd be like, in her heart of hearts, I bet she would have been over the glass if she was tall enough to like reach over and grab that kid and give him what for. But, they're very protective in that way. And so it's very cute. But love them unconditionally. And that's something that you can do regardless of how it's been. There's a joke that, now I hope you have a funny bone because this is a joke. There's a story of, there's a question of why did Peter deny Jesus 3 times? And so the story goes is because he healed his mother-in-law. So you may or may not think that's funny, but I think it's kind of a funny story. But I love my mother-in-law, I love my mom, and I love them both very much. They're very awesome ladies. So loving them unconditionally, actually they make it very easy and very, very, very easy for us. So the next one is attitude of gratitude. Look for things, as you get older, you begin to recognize more and more in your life of what your parents or your mother has done. And so just be gracious and have an attitude, just be grateful for the things and look for those things that they have done for you in your life, and have a good attitude about it. That's a great thing. And number 3 I have here, attitude of gratitude. I forgot to say this. When you're at a place, sometimes you say, good job, pat on the back, but you don't know why it's a good job or why you're getting a pat on the back. It's great that you're getting some encouragement, but be specific. Find something specific that you're grateful for, and let them know about it if they're still with you today. And the next one is hug your mama. That's not in the Bible, but if you're near your mom, make sure you give her a hug once in a while. If I was not on the other side of the planet, I give my hug you got to give them a hug every time you see them, Let them know that they're loved and things like that. Yeah. Sometimes a hug is a little more than a chocolate bar. I think they'd rather have a chocolate bar and a hug. That'd be amazing. But number 4, I call this bless them and don't blast them. There's a story in the Bible. You'll get the point as I try to unpack it to make sense. There's a story in the Bible called Noah. That's his name. After the flood, he has a little too much alcohol, too much wine, and he finds himself, he got hammered, intoxicated, passed out, totally exposed. And so he had this son, and his name was, I believe it was Ham that came in. He had 3 sons. Ham came in, and what he did is he saw his dad, and he saw him in the state he was. He saw him in the condition he was, and then he went and told his brothers. And so his brothers are like, okay, so what do we do about this? Dad is in this position. So what they did is they got a blanket, and they walked up kind of backwards, and then they covered Dad's nakedness, and then, I don't know, Noah's wakes up, what's going on? And then, I guess that's how it looks. And then he's looking for Ham, because Ham was the guy that told everybody. So I know sometimes parents can do, or mothers, your job is not to blast them for everything wrong that they've done in telling the world. Like putting on social media of what this and what that. Your purpose is to bless them. In many cases, is not to expose everything that they've done wrong, because remember, could happen to you, right? But that's the whole point. Is you can show honor. Not saying the mistakes didn't happen. I'm not trying to hide or put it in a closet. What I'm saying is, you don't need to blast and tell everyone about it. You can actually protect them and honor them by, covering their nakedness and maybe a mistake. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying you can honor them in that way. Another one that I have here, number 5, is the way we can honor mother or motherhood is not to downplay it in society. Now, there's a big deal that, I don't want to get too political or rock the boat, but I'm going to rock the boat. But I mean, the way I see how some people play down motherhood as it's kind of like second rate, second something, or it's less than, or ladies that choose to stay home and raise kids, they kind of look down at it as those others that the whole end goal is to just go to work. And so, I mean, in my heart of hearts, I don't like that. In my heart of hearts, my mom worked. She raised us. She cleaned. I mean, she did everything. Like, honestly, she did everything. It wasn't like, you just have to stay home and you can't work. I mean, she worked and raised us together, me and my sister, sorry. And so it's not about that, but what I don't like is how society sometimes puts down motherhood as if it's something less than whatever aim they're looking at. So I think motherhood's an amazing thing. If you're working, awesome. If you stay at home just with the kids, awesome. If you're doing both, awesome. But let's keep motherhood. I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for mothers. Let's be honest, right? Thank you, Jesus. You understand what I'm saying, right? Don't downplay the role of motherhood in society as it's some kind of second-class thing. That's what I'm aiming at. I don't like that because they're very important. And so some people are uneasy about it. But that could be maybe just my personal preference, which is fine. And thank you, Jesus. Number 6, honor. Honor God with your life as a child. And one of the greatest things you can do is honor your parents or your mother by serving God yourself, finding this Jesus. If you haven't looked into him, you can read about him. You can look at it. You can ask different questions. You can do research on it. But life that's honoring to God will probably honor their parents as well, or the people around them. And so it's a big deal because even in my heart of hearts, I have a hard time sometimes with how people treat mothers, right? It's kind of, they're disrespectful. I don't know, for me, it's just the way it is. You go out to public or you go out to a restaurant and you hear kids talk about their moms, and they're just so rude. Maybe this is going back to blast and not bless. And it's interesting for me because it's, an interesting thing, let me just point this out for you single fellas out there. My wife told me this, and when we were dating, is that she would actually look at how I would treat my mom would be a reflection of how I would treat her. So, my point is, how you're treating your mom or your mother, how you speak to her, how you talk about her behind her back, how you interact with her, will play a big role. And so ladies with discernment will pick up on that because it would come to you as well at some point. So I found that to be an interesting point. So young fellas, keep that in mind, and young ladies as well. Watch how he treats his mama. And so, because that's how he will probably treat you as well. So, or his mother, anyway. I'll just close that right now and put that one away I'll let you marinate on it for a while. So honor God with your life is a great thing, and nothing gets a parent more excited than seeing, or the mothers seeing their children follow Jesus. And because when you find that, you find your identity, you find your purpose. They call it as a calling, and it comes with this thing called character. And that's what really counts, is God's working on our character. You know, it's funny because there's a saying that he had a face only a mother could love. And it's, you know, and that says something about how ugly that person is. But actually it's talking about how like mothers will be like, at what some point, moms are so devoted to their kids. And it's funny because, you know, okay, it's not funny, but mothers will even get to the point where they will, not just because they have a face only a mother could love, but sometimes kids have the character only a mother could love, if you understand what I'm trying to say. And so a lot of times, even for me, it's not that I've been perfect or my mom's been perfect. I'm pretty close to perfect, I think. But the thing that I really appreciate is the fact that even after being a little stinker, and as I always know, my mama would always like forgive me or love me, no matter, like you could tell her anything. I still can tell her stuff, you know. And it's not, and I don't want to just because I want to just, you don't want to tell her because you don't want to disappoint her in some ways, but on the other hand, you know, sometimes you have a character that only a mother could love. And it just shows you the great devotion of what mothers have for their kids a lot of the time. So I don't know about you, what your relationship is like with your mother, but I do have a challenge for you. If you haven't done it already, because it's International Mother's Day, is if you haven't posted a picture of your mother, you know, with your mother. I know I have friends that have their mother has passed away, but they still honor their mother by posting it and I miss you kind of thing. That's kind of cute. The challenge is get a picture of mom, or maybe write her something that you're grateful about, something you post something you've learned from your mom that you're going to pass on to your kids, or pass on once you have kids, or yeah, it's be some kind of notes. If you're in a place where you're like, I don't know if I even want to talk to her right now, maybe just consider even reconciling and how can I show honor, and maybe look at what that looks like to reconcile maybe at some point. So you remember, honor is something that you can show people and it's totally free, but it takes you to see the value in something, or it takes you to give value to something. And so honor your mother, have a wonderful Mother's Day. Just contact them, Skype them, whatever you need to do. Let them know how much you love them. And yeah, I hope that helps you. And yeah, other than that, I think we should close the service. And I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Take care of yourself, take care of others, and keep being awesome. Till next week, God bless. See you later.
Hi, Noodle. Hi, Ezra. What are you doing?
Oh, hi, Ellie. Hi, Leanne. Ezra took my tracer. No way. My treasure Noodle took it from me. Hey! Hey, isn't that my treasure?
Actually, I think it's my treasure.
Huh?
Boy, what are we gonna do about this, you guys? We all want the treasure.
My mom and my dad aren't working now, so we need it, but maybe we can share it. Mine too. We need it, but yeah, maybe we could share it. What do you think, Noodle? How can we share if we are all in need?
That's a good point, Noodle. But there was a woman in the Bible who was a widow. So that means her husband died. And she was very poor. And it was a famine in the land, which means there was no food. So Elisha comes along and asks her, please share your food with me. And she says, but it's a famine, and me and my son are about to die. But Elijah said, look, if you share with me, God will see your sacrifice and He will bless you. So you need to trust God. So,
Wow, she was really in need. She was almost out of food.
yes, but there is something supernatural that happens when we give when we're still in need. God blesses us abundantly. James 1:27 says, pure and genuine religion. Pure and genuine religion in the sight of the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you.
What does that mean? I think it means that we don't act like the world acts when it's a famine,
Okay, try it again. I think that means
I think that means we don't act like the world acts when it's a famine. When we do a famine time, we are doing it God's way. And that's
opposite.
That's opposite of how the world acts. Hey, is there a craft we can do for this?
For today's craft, we are going to make our own bags. And what we're going to do is we are going to learn to give even when we're in need. So we're going to take our bags that we make today and we're going to go out into the street and give to some people. We're going to give some rice, some noodles, something like that. So Ellie, what are our materials that we need for this craft?
All we need is just a scissor and a shirt. Really easy things. We don't need glue, we don't need a sew. It's really easy for kids to make.
So please choose a shirt that
You don't need anymore. So we are using my dad's shirt, so it's gonna be bigger and better. Let's start cutting. So we're gonna cut on the shirt edge,
Yes, good.
both sides. Then we're gonna cut the neck spot. Can I have another scissor? It's not working. Mine either. It's like stuck. It's stuck. Yours is stuck. Can you see?
Okay, so we're gonna start right from like here. Can I show you just a wee second? We're gonna start it from right here. Okay, see how easy it is from this spot. Okay, there we go. Your scissors are quite sharp, so that's good. How's it going, Ellie?
I think I really need a new scissors. This is like stuck together. Come on, you can do this. Ah,
Right.
I did it. And the next side, it's gonna be tough today.
Great job.
I'm gonna cut my finger.
Good job, Ezra. Okay, next side. This. Okay.
It's
This
really
over here?
easy if you
Is
like
it over
pull the shirt
Yeah.
back like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Next, we're going to cut the neckline.
Okay. Let's do it.
My finger.
How's it going? It's working. Just gotta go right in here, okay? Right in here, not up here. In here, okay?
I cannot cut cut it right here.
You can go a little bit farther because you're still cutting on the seam, so it's very thick. So let's try up here, like this. There, see? Much, much easier. Okay, see? So easy. Okay. You just cut this whole thing off, okay? You don't have to go near the seam because it's too thick.
Can I keep the shirt? So next, we are gonna cut the strip off the bottom shirt. Let's do this. I'm so excited. This might be easier than the others. Really?
Not on the seam, yeah.
Not on the
Not on the seam.
Me and Ezra does not know what that means at all.
Where the sewing part is.
Hey, Ellie. Your arm. Oh. I have to cut like this.
Okay.
I want to do it.
Oh, good job. Okay.
So next, we are gonna cut the middle of the part that we cut on the bottom.
Okay, good. Yes.
And then we're gonna wrap this around a little bit, then we're gonna tie it up on. Wait, can I do it inside out? And then I can, no.
Yeah, if you want this on the outside, we can do that.
I want the pictures on the outside.
Okay.
Do you want the picture on the outside? Yep. Okay. I want it beautiful, so I want it.
Okay, so you gather it like
Because
this.
you will see this, right? It's not gonna be nice.
Okay. Maybe one more tie.
Tie.
One more.
I'm not gonna the tie really be.
Cuts. Yeah.
Cut the leftover strip. And now we are gonna flip it inside out or outside in. This is gonna be cool. Oh, what's happened? Everybody will be like, is that a bag or what?
Put it on so they can see it.
Wait, don't we can't cut this part off?
No, sweetie, no. Just leave it.
Oh. Great. Good job.
Okay, so you go like this.
Me and Ezra can swap if we want, right, Ezra? Do you want mine? No. I want that one. Wow.
Okay, here's your bag.
Can I have this one?
No, honey.
So this is our finished bag. Let's put it on. You can stuff in if you want. Ta-da! So let's go buy some stuff and hand out some stuff to people. Bye! Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, here we are. Just got a little market on the side of the road. Our idea is that we're gonna buy some fruit and just give it out to people around town because, you know, we
Want to be nice.
want to be nice, but we also want to prove that we trust God. You know, we're not looking at our circumstances, we trust God and we can give even in famine, right guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's do it. Okay.
Okay, so this is the bag we made, and we are gonna put this in. We're gonna put the fruits in here. Let's do this. One.
So we had a great little while of just being givers. We found a whole bunch of people that we just gave fruit to. And it's really fun to be able to give. It helps you feel encouraged. It helps you feel stronger. And of course, we know that our hope is in the Lord. So it's been really fun, right guys? Did you have fun?
Yes.
And of course, our cool bags are going to be used lots of times because we can bring it wherever we go. So we'll see you next time, okay?
Bye. Have a nice time.